I agree with you on the book club thing. I think they should put this on those speaker trucks that, you used to do campaigns. They used to put, the speaker truck where you could just drive through the neighborhood and, read this indictment, because I worry that without a televised trial, like the OJ trial, it would be the trial of the century. This is the most important case, as Neil said, of our lifetimes, of any of our lifetimes. This is a president trying to overturn an election for the first time in the history of the United States. But without a televised trial, it's just going to be us saying it and saying what happened every day and interpreting it for people, and them watching it on the local news, maybe from one of those, companies that's, that puts out sort of a conservative version of local. I don't know how we get people to see it. And I don't have faith in John Roberts. I'm just going to be honest. I don't know how many people I'm speaking for watching. Do I have faith in Chief Justice Roberts? No, I don't.
Well, there are people that can influence Justice Roberts, and those people, Chief Justice Roberts, those people are federal judges. And I really believe that every federal judge in the country ought to do a gut check tonight and think about why is it that we could televise the OJ trial decades ago? That was in the 90s. And people could see what actually happened in the courtroom. And I would argue, while there was a lot of uncomfortable Americans about what happened in that trial, they weren't able to make stuff up because everybody saw it in real time. So I do think federal judges should begin influencing the federal judiciary that this is ridiculous in this day and age, when we have the little computers in our hands feeding us information, and we have algorithms reinforcing what our views are over and over and over again. There ought to be an opportunity in this kind of historic trial that everybody sees the evidence as admitted into our courts of law. It would reassure them about our rule of law. It would reassure them about the fact that most of this evidence is coming from Trump loyalists. And then finally, Joy, I've got to say, the other people that could have influence over this are people like Mike Pence and Republicans who could quit dancing with this guy. They could quit playing footsie with this guy. They could quit pretending that he actually has a point about the election being stolen. If every Republican leader would speak up and say the election was not stolen, he is lying to you, not only would maybe one of them have a chance of beating him in the primary, maybe their party would have a chance again with folks in this country that see very clearly that he was just trying to make stuff up so he could stay in power, which was against the Constitution.
Yeah. One can hope and pray and dream. Former Senator Claire McCaskill, thank you. Always a pleasure. Thank you, my friend. We'll see what happens. Before we go, I know we have to take a break, but you are our resident former prosecutor here. Is there a process by which a formal request, can be made to Chief Justice Roberts to televise this trial? Because I think we all agree that without a televised trial, it's going to be interpreted, and then people will just choose their own adventure on what they believe.
Yeah, so I'm not aware of any kind of process for this to sort of take place in an organized way. I do agree that actually having outside voices, including other judges, weigh in on this publicly, letters to the editor and all that sort of thing could have some sway here.
Yeah.
But not to bring folks down further. But I think there's going to be a big question about whether there is a trial in this case before next November. The average time to trial or to disposition in Washington, D.C. for a federal felony case is over 1.5 years. And that includes cases that are pled out. So there's going to need to be a very concerted effort on the part of Jack Smith, even the judge, if she wants it to happen, to make this trial happen next year. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, as you know, if Trump manages to win the Republican primary and to be reelected, there's never going to be a trial.
And this is the challenge, is that if we get to March, I mean, it is possible, given the way the polling looks right now, that Donald Trump is already effectively the nominee by March. And then he's got another trial that's supposedly going to start in March, the trial on the documents case, the Florida case. And he'll simply go back to that friendly judge and say, Joe Biden is trying to try his chief opponent. And then this case here, he'll go back and say, Joe Biden is trying to try his chief opponent. And so without a speedy trial and without a televised trial,
Yes, I'm going to bring you down, but I'm going to bring you up.
Okay. I need to come back
up. Look, I think one of the most alarming numbers to me in that New York Times poll that you referenced, Joy, was the 22% of people who thought that he was guilty of a crime or had done something very bad or criminal and still would support him.
Yeah.
That does confirm everything you said about the primary process and Trump being the very, very likely nominee. I mean, we've seen poll after poll convey that. I'm going to bring you up now. I also think what we saw in 2022 is that the American people, independents, Democrats, people who may turn out because it's an election that they're excited about, a midterm election or a general election, don't like this anti-democratic big lie pushing, right?
Yeah.
And that is going to be incumbent. Yes, we all agree that a public trial would be best for this, but that argument, not shying away from the argument, democracy versus what is representing over here, right? Standing up for the values of our country, the foundations on what we've been based on. You know, my view, this is also about fighting against Trump's effort to make himself the victim. He is not the victim. Everyone needs to start saying he is not the victim. The victims are Shaye Moss and Ruby Freeman. They're institutions. They're the Republican Party, I think we could argue. So I hope I brought you up.
You did. And
it's primary in general, different animals.
And by